In today's clip, I will take you step by step through how I created this watercolour painting of a rose. I will talk you through why it's important that you find the right reference image, and if you would like to use the reference image that I have used for this painting, you can find it in the description below. I will also talk you through the resources that I used, including the paint palette that I have used and any other resources. So let's get on with the clip. So the first thing we're going to discuss is your image. You can obviously work with an image that you have taken or choose a reference image. As I have said, there is a link to the description below for the image that I am using in today's tutorial. So I have got this image from a website called Pixabay, and they are very good for reference images. I use them also for my portraits. I would suggest you have a look on there and find a rose image or a flower image that you are interested in. And it's really important that you find one that has a variety of tones or values, because you will need to have a variety of tones or values so that you can see the difference between one petal to the next. It's also important that you don't have too many petals, because if you do, the painting will become too complex. So that is 2 tips for you choosing your reference image. I'm now also going to talk briefly about equipment. So on the left hand side, I have the swatches of all the paints I have used in today's tutorial, and apologies for not having the initial stages of the painting. What happened was, unfortunately, the camera didn't record the first stages of me painting the background. So what happened was I painted clean water onto the background, and I am using cold pressed paper in today's clip. I'm using Arches paper, and I'm using my Winsor & Newton Cotman palette. And as I've said, the colours are on the left hand side. So what I did for my background was I put Payne's Grey, Hooker's Green and Sap Green to create this abstract effect, and then I let the colours just expand out into the background. So I'm now going to talk about how I paint the petals, and it's really important that if you want your painting to be successful, that you try and follow these steps as closely as possible. So the first thing is that you need to look at each individual petal. And I would do this before you start actually painting to try and plan out your colours. Think about what colours you're going to use. Maybe experiment on a piece of loose paper before you start painting and layer the colours up. I did that before I started, just to try and think about the colours that I would use in today's tutorial. And then what you need to do is paint each petal individually. This means not only will you look and observe each petal individually, but also it means that each petal will not run into the other. Okay, so that is the first thing you need to do. And then what you will do is you will paint clean water onto each petal. And as you can see, I have added a tiny amount of the colour, and then I am dragging that onto the lighter area. You will see as you look at the image that there is a darker area, and then as it moves out to the light, it gets lighter. That is creating a 3D effect. And as you paint anything, whether it's skin tone or whether it's an apple, there will be a 3D effect. And when you are looking at your flower, you need to look at where is the 3D element, where is it dark, where is it light. These are called values, and that is what will make your picture look 3D. So each petal, add clean water, add your colour to the darker area, and then drag it out. Now with this, you are going to be adding layers. So the initial layer you will add, and then if there is a time where you need to dry the works, you can move on to the next layer because the petals are joining each other. You may want to use a heating tool, or you may want to use a hairdryer. You probably saw a few moments ago I used a hairdryer because I was getting to a point where some of my layers were joining each other. So that is the next stage that you may want to move on to. Is if you want to use a hairdryer, you may want to use a hairdryer. You may also, in between the layers, if you notice that your water paper is buckling, you may want to spray the back of it lightly with a spritzer or with a spray gun, and then what you might want to do is put that in between some heavy books, and that will flatten your paper ready for you adding your next layer. Once you have added your initial layer of your light colours, you will then need to go in with your darker colours. With watercolour paper, you always start light and then build up with your darker colours. Never go in with dark straight away. That would be very difficult because then you can't take those lighter colours away. And also, if you have any really light layers, just leave them light. It's very difficult to go in with a white colour. There is no white watercolour that is opaque. If you made that mistake, you would have to go on top with white gouache. So I am now starting to add some darker colours. So I'm going in with Madder Rose and with Mauve and with Purple Lake, going into those really dark areas. So in order to achieve a really 3D effect, it's important to pick out the really dark areas, and I used the purples to do that, to pick out the dark areas, and I also used a white gel pen. I could have used gouache, but because of the fine details, I thought it was better to use a white gel pen. If you enjoyed this clip, then make sure you check out more clips like this in the watercolor playlist. Don't forget to look in the description below for details of products used in today's clip, and if you have any ideas for content or questions, leave a comment below. Finally, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of future content, including a real-time clip of today's painting tutorial.